Well, hello everybody. Welcome, a huge welcome from all of us at It's a Penalty and all the partners for today's webinar on safe sport. So yes, it's Safe Sport Day, and we're going to hear a little bit more about what that means, what that's about, and why that's so important. So just to introduce myself, my name is Helen Jones, and I'm It's Penalty's Commonwealth Advocacy Advisor, and I'm really delighted to be moderating this panel today, special day. So it's quite a serious day, in as much as it's about every child's right to be safe during sport. And it's every organisation's responsibility to protect them. So each year, on the 8th of August, we have Safe Sports Day as a means of looking at that and exploring that in more detail and thinking how we can improve the way we are protecting children. And it was first established this day by the International Safeguards for Children in Sport, which is a global coalition of organisations around the world that are working to keep children safe in sport. And we're very proud to be members of that coalition at It's a Penalty. And today then is an opportunity to, as I said, to explore this in much more detail. And we're absolutely honoured to have a range of speakers from different organisations, and we're linking up today different sides of the world. We've got colleagues down in the South Pacific that are joining us, as well as across the Commonwealth and in London as well. So I'm absolutely thrilled to introduce our speakers. We've got Liz Twyford, who is Sports Programme Specialist at UNICEF UK, and she's also the convener, the coordinator for the International Safeguards for Children in Sport. We've got Dr. Lin Sambili, who is the project manager, Sport for Development and Peace, and she's at the Commonwealth Secretariat. We have Fahmida Faiza. Now, Fahmida is the Asia representative for the Commonwealth Youth Council, but she's also a FIFA Guardian. She's one of the first cohorts of the new FIFA Guardians, and she's also founder and CEO of the Alliance for Safe Space. And from the South Pacific, we're delighted to have Alison Osborne, who's Social Responsibility and Legacy Programme Manager at the Oceania Football Confederation, and also Rufina, who is Social Responsibility Manager and Programme Lead for the Solomon Islands Football Federation. So a really good range of speakers, and we're going to get into, I think, how we can really make safe sport more meaningful. I'm going to be coming on to our speakers shortly. First of all, just to give you a little bit of background at It's a Penalty, because at the moment, It's a Penalty is running a important campaign that ties in with the Women's World Cup. And my goodness, the Women's World Cup is pretty exciting, I think. I hope you're managing to tune in and see some of the matches. And the idea behind It's a Penalty and its campaign work is basically we are wanting to harness the power of sport to prevent abuse, exploitation and human trafficking on a global scale. And we use this by utilising the platforms that major sporting events give us to basically develop public awareness of particular issues. And this time for the Women's World Cup, we're focusing on safe sport, and hence the tie-in very fortuitously today with the Safe Sport Day. So in terms of that campaign, what we're going to do is we're just going to kick off by playing the campaign film. We've been very fortunate in having the support of a number of the women footballers who are playing in the matches with this, the key messages with this video. And it's just 30 seconds, just to give us a sense of how sport, I think, can be used for good, as a power of good. So if my colleague Beth can kick us, yeah.
Every child has a right to be safe from abuse and exploitation
during their lives and as they play sport.
Globally, 1 in 8 children are abused or exploited before the age of 18.
The majority of those affected are girls.
In most cases, a child is abused by someone they know.
We stand with It's a Penalty to keep kids safe.
Join us.
If you suspect abuse, report it.
It's a penalty.
Thank you, Beth. So you'll be able to find that as well on social media channels. So I'm like now to basically come into our panel, and let's start our discussion this morning. Exciting morning. So the first person I'm wanting to come to is Liz Twyford. As I said, Liz works for UNICEF UK, but she's the coordinator for the International Safeguards for Children in Sport. Liz, can you give us a little bit of information? Can you share with us what exactly does safe sport mean? And what are the risks for children that you're trying to stop, basically, to mitigate?
Thanks, Helen, and thanks for the opportunity to talk to everyone today of all days on Safe Sport Day. Very exciting. So when we talk about safe sport, we're talking about sport that is free from non-accidental harm and free from abuse. And it's a space where every child, whatever level they play at, whatever sport they play in, can have fun and can develop to their full potential. We're not talking about taking competition out of sport when we talk about safe sport, but we're talking about managing risks and responding appropriately. So how do we do that? We have two watchwords at the International Safeguards. It's prevent and respond. So a core part of making sport safe is prevention, doing everything you can to prevent bad things happening to children and anyone else who's taking part in sport. And prevention is really about risk. It's about understanding what the risks might be and then putting in place measures to prevent those risks from becoming reality. But it's also about response. It's about responding appropriately in a victim-centered way with the right support around a person if something bad happens. And it's about all of us having that responsibility. If we see something that makes us feel a little bit concerned, it's something that's off, we report it so that we can get that response in motion. So talking about those risks to children that you asked about, Helen, you know, children in sport face the same risk that they face in wider life. They face the risk of physical, emotional, or sexual violence, and they also face the risk of neglect. And that can be things like bullying from their teammates or online. It's not only the physical sports environment that can be harmful for children connected to sport, it can also be that online environment. It can be sexual abuse from an adult, a trusted adult in that space, or it can be neglect, the failure to make sure that children taking part in sport have got enough water on a hot day or have got adequate shade. All of those things can happen in sport. But I think what's interesting are some of the specific things in sport that children can face. So things like hazing or initiation ceremonies. In lots of team sports, children have to go through an exercise that is very like abuse in order to join the team. So that's really problematic. There's issues like training when injured, being forced to train when they're carrying an injury, that constitutes abuse, or being forced to do exercises that aren't appropriate for their age. That's another specific problem that we see in sport. And then it's also worth noting that particularly for that kind of pre-elite or elite athlete stage, there are particular vulnerabilities that come along, because at that point, you know, everything's on the line, and that's where people in power can abuse that power to abuse children. So yes, it's the same issues that children face in wider life, but there are some specific issues to sport, and that's why we've got this focus in the International Safeguards for Children in Sport on this space of safe sport.
Right, so that comes on to then, so what exactly are these safeguards then, Liz, that we have, that people can sign up for, make a pledge to?
Thanks, Helen. Well, they are 8 things that organisations can do to improve their practice around safe sport. Really simple things like have a safeguarding policy, have a code of conduct, not only for the children taking part, but all of your staff. Make sure that your partners get involved and support your partners to make sport safer. Know what to do if you're concerned about a child. 8 simple things that organisations can do to start their safeguarding journey. So really, the International Safeguards is is really pitched at those organisations that want to make sport safer. They're committed to safe sport, but they're really not sure what they need to do. So we've got a website with lots of different resources that people can access. And one of the things that we're most proud of is that we've grown over the last 10 years. We've got more than 200 organisations and networks from, kind of high professional sporting bodies like the IOC and FIFA, through to organisations working in one community, in a grassroots community on a sport for development programme, but really providing sport to children in quite vulnerable circumstances. And all of these organisations are united together under this banner of every child, everywhere, safe in sport. So really it's a movement. It's a movement to share good practice, to get people involved, and to really push forward the safe sport agenda.
And you're coordinating this, so I think you must be kept very busy. So over 200 organisations now. That's excellent.
Yeah, plus the networks of that they represent as well. So we're kind of got people in 6 different continents right around the world, all committed to making sport safer. And I think that's the positive side of things. And that's what we want to celebrate today on Safe Sport Day, is the steps that organisations are taking to make a positive difference. And we really believe that the most important thing is going on that journey, is taking those steps, is making progress. Not every organisation can instantly be at the kind of pinnacle of practice, but everybody can do something better every day. And it's about making that commitment, as you said, Helen, taking that pledge, like It's a Penalty have done, to really pledge to try and make sport safe for every child.
Yes, well, we're certainly delighted to be a part of the family, trying to take safe sport, make that better, more effective across the world. So thank you, Liz. So Liz, I'm going to leave it there and come on to one of our other panelists, but I'm sure you're going to be around to join in towards the end. So our second panelist, I'm delighted to introduce, is Dr. Lin Sambili, who's at the Commonwealth Secretariat. So Lin, so sport it's a real cornerstone, I think, isn't it, for the Commonwealth of Nations? And we're all familiar with the iconic Commonwealth Games. And I understand at the moment we've also got the Commonwealth Youth Games taking place in Trinidad and Tobago as we speak. So I think sport is really fundamental to those 56 countries that make up the Commonwealth family of nations. But sadly, we know that children in sport are often vulnerable to abuse by adults, including by coaches, officials, medical team members, volunteers, as well as parents, as well as their peers. And in fact, this position of trust or power over a child is often a key element in the grooming and abuse that takes place in sports setting. So Lin, I understand that the Commonwealth's been doing quite a bit of work here on looking at the legal side. Would you like to begin by, telling us a little bit about that work, but also telling us something about what the Commonwealth is doing?
Sure. Thank you, Helen. Thank you so much. And really pleased to be part of this panel discussion today and to just hear the brilliant insights that are coming in. So maybe just to give it a bit of framing, like you've said, it's been a collective effort getting to this point. We have the Commonwealth Model Law on protection of vulnerable persons against abuse by persons in positions of trust. A bit of a mouthful, but really important that we capture that it's that we're looking at the protection, similar to how Liz said, looking at prevention and now ensuring that the protection mechanisms are in place. The Commonwealth Secretariat, as you said, is a voluntary organization made up of 56 independent and equal countries. And our work primarily is to listen and to serve our member countries to help them achieve the goals of sustainable development, democracy, and peace. And that also, spins and weaves with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Now, when it comes to sport and sport for development and peace, as a team and as part of the Secretariat, our work really looks at how do we ensure we're creating an inclusive, safe and resilient sports sector? How are we ensuring we're keeping and supporting our member countries, ministers, senior officials in sport to be, ensuring that they have all the tenets to ensure that sport is safe, it's inclusive, and it's resilient within their member countries. And to do this, we have several mechanisms. There is the Commonwealth Advisory Body on Sport, but there's also the Commonwealth Youth Networks, of which we have 13 networks that are up and running across a range of issues. But particularly important for today, when we talk about an inclusive, safe and resilient sector, like you said, there is the legislation work that's been really a collective effort with UNICEF UK, with DLA Piper UK, with over 15 Commonwealth member countries who engaged in this process to check, to really be rigorous about the draft principles initially that were there that encompass what it looks like to have safe sport. And there were 15 member countries who formed part of this expert working group. And why we thought, or rather, the genesis of this is because in several Commonwealth countries, Helen, there's gaps in the scope of the legislation that's relating to sexual activity between minors and other vulnerable persons and persons who are in positions of trust, or those who we would say are in a position of authority. And we wanted to make sure that we're capturing, as many persons as possible. Now, the model law is available, thankfully, now, but it covers the protection and promotion of the rights of children, vulnerable persons across, be it a parent, a guardian, an authorized carer, a care professional, a teacher, a tutor, an educator, a religious or spiritual leader, a manager, or a supervisor in an employment situation that a young person may find themselves in, or a child, shouldn't find a child really, a custodian, health professional, a youth worker, which is particularly important because we have a wide range of programs around youth work and volunteering, and crucial for Safe Sport Day, really, a coach and or a trainer, because that was initially not there. And why legislation is so key is because then, as the Secretariat were able to support and push forward this progress, really help to track and to monitor, support our member countries in country, whether through technical assistance or working through ensuring that the model law is contextualized and utilized in the country. And that's really exciting, because then you know that if it is in law, if it's in the country's law, then there's the mandate to support children, to keep children safe in sport, and to keep other marginalized groups safe in sport, and really ensure that all under 18-year-olds, where the age of consent is lower than 18, are also protected. So that's why this model law on protection of vulnerable persons against abuse by persons in a position of trust is so important. It pushes the needle forward on the Commonwealth consensus statement, and it also pushes the needle forward when we talk about legislation, but policy, and it's going to be exciting to see it in practice, because then now it's readily available for use, and it's been a wonderful process to be part of, and really looking forward to its rollout, particularly in this Commonwealth Year of Youth.
Yes, so the Commonwealth Year of Youth. Are you able to say a little bit about that? And also a set piece event as part of that is also the Commonwealth Games is happening, I think, at this very moment. Is that right?
At this very moment, yes, at this very moment. So it started on the 4th. They had the opening ceremony on the 4th in Trinbago. Commonwealth Youth Games started, and they're being hosted by a small island state, and it's looking really great. So that started on the 4th of August and will run up all the way to the 11th of August. And there's actually Safe Sport Day activities that have been ongoing, and really this whole theme around safeguarding and keeping children and young people safe in sport. There's athlete impact labs that are taking place as we speak in Trinidad and Tobago, which Liz may be able to also speak a little bit on later on. There is a youth journalist program that's also engaging young people to give their perspectives and their commentary on what does safe sport look like to them, and what have their learnings been. And this is very exciting to see a lot of these conversations taking place organically, and that everybody is collectively ensuring that we're moving in the same direction. So in terms of the Commonwealth Year of Youth, last year, just very briefly, during the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Kigali, Rwanda, heads declared that, you know what, we are going to declare 2023 the year of youth, the Commonwealth Year of Youth. And this is important because we want to amplify the efforts and the youth voice within the Commonwealth, of whom over 60% of the 2.5 billion citizens of the Commonwealth are young people between 15 and 29. So that's a huge demographic and to be harnessed, but really to ensure that we're not making any decisions for them without them. And so that's the riding theme of 2023, be it in, and there's still opportunities for anyone on the call or anyone watching this to be part of that discussion or to join up efforts to support the Commonwealth Year of Youth. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you so much, Lynn. And that brings us very nicely to speak now to Fahmida Faiza, because Fahmida, you're a part of some of those youth structures in the Commonwealth, but you've also got huge experience as a young professional of working in the field of safeguarding through your work, I think, with the South Asian Football Federation. You'll be able to tell us a bit more about this. So I think it'd be really interesting to hear, as a young professional, as somebody involved in some of that Commonwealth networking, basically, how do you think sports organisations can create a safer environment for children? What's your experience, and what are your recommendations from the work you've been doing?
Thanks, Helen. First, I would like to thank It's a Penalty for bringing together this amazing panel. It's really rewarding to just listen to the process that has taken place by the international safeguards and also by the Commonwealth Secretariat. And we have our colleagues from Pacific. We very much look forward to hear from them because the Women's World Cup is going on, and as well as the Trinbago game, as we were talking about, because the 7th edition of the Commonwealth Youth Games is perhaps the first time ever safeguarding mechanism is being implemented. So as Lynn just mentioned, that 2023 is proclaimed as the Commonwealth Year of Youth, and I represent the Commonwealth Youth Council as the Asia Regional Representative, which is an elected position, and also serving the 56 Commonwealth nations and the 1.4 million of young people's voice. Now, Commonwealth, of course, has the model legislation of position of trust, and coming back from what Lynn was saying, that this is a nice structure, this is a policy that is in place, but it is up to the organizations, it is up to practitioners to take the policies into practices. And that's exactly where mechanisms such as the International Safeguards for Children in Sports or It's a Penalty, these organizations play a crucial role, because we need to bridge those policies and practices. From my end, I started a little bit about my journey is that I started with South Asian Football Federation, pioneering the concept of safe sport and the practice of safe sport in South Asia. Now, I come from Bangladesh and I'm currently living in Morocco. And coming from both someone who was born and brought up in Asia, educated in Europe, and currently working in Africa, for someone, I can really see the big difference, because when you see the safeguarding standards, those are quite European or the global North centric. But when we come to implement them in the countries like in Rwanda or in Bangladesh, say, for example, the resources are limited and the organizations, the leaderships do not often take proactive their role in order to ensure those places are rightly put with the right people. But more so, it's not just the sports organizations, because your question, Helen, was that what the sports organizations can do. I think it's not just about the organizations, it's about every one of us. And we all say this so many times, and as a FIFA Guardians, proudly from the first cohort of the FIFA Guardians safeguarding diploma, I can say that the key message for us that safeguarding is everyone's responsibility. So we cannot say that it's just on the sports organizations to do. It is the policymakers, the ministers. As we speak next month, the Commonwealth Youth Ministers are meeting at the 10th Youth Ministers meeting. And that is also if you look at the structure, the youth ministers are also most of them are also sports ministers. So this is also an important discussion to carry forward to and make those pledges taken into account. But it's not about the ministers, policymakers, organizations. It's about each of us. It's about all of us who are watching. And I see Anna Tivas from the Safe Sport International just joining us in Facebook, as also wishing us good messages. But it's about each and every individual, and what can we do to create a safe environment. And as Liz was saying, that it's about non-accidental harms. So what does non-accidental harm mean? That means someone is doing it intentionally. And it's not often written on the face that who is a bad person. Now, for countries in UK, you have a disclosure and barring services system, a rigorous process that helps to filter out these potential people, but we do not have those systems in the countries of Global South. So there comes the gap where I think organizations can play a more proactive role and individual advocates have a crucial role to play. So on that note, I actually have initiated Alliance for Safe Space, which is a global alliance for the safeguarding professionals, not only across sports, but also, as you know, that sports is a bigger reflection, like a reflection of the bigger part of the society. So all across in the society, how do we create safe space? So, and interestingly, when we hosted these discussions, we have seen a lot of people who are advocating this either had firsthand experience of safeguarding concerns or have seen someone very close to them or someone they care about experiencing such situations. And that made me question that why do we have to wait until something happens to our near and dear ones? Why cannot we prevent it to begin with? And I think that's where these kind of platforms and these kind of discussions play a crucial role in bridging those gaps and ensuring that the advocacy and the amplified voice reaches to the right people in every corner of the world with the right insights and the right mindset. And I would just finish off by saying that it is important to celebrate Safe Sport Day, 8th August. It's important, but it's more important to carry the faith and the vision and the mission as part of our everyday life. So when we say safeguarding is for everyone, I would say every day is a Safe Sport Day. It's not just 8th of August. And yeah, over to you, Helen. I'm looking forward to hear more from our Pacific colleagues, because that would be exciting to know more about their work.
Yes, and if I may, I just wanted to, because of your role with the Commonwealth Youth Council, I just wanted to, in this year of youth, just dwell a moment on the whole subject of youth voice and the importance in this area, and how young people can really vocalize about some of these issues. And maybe we'll just quickly come back to Liz as well to talk about the importance of youth voice. And of course, you in this year of youth are leading by example of youth-led action as well, with the initiative that you've taken. But yeah, just to focus for a moment on year of youth.
Yeah. So as we focus, I'm really excited to see the upcoming processes that's going to happen next month in the 10th Commonwealth Youth Ministers meeting, because the meeting is happening after more than 2 years. And this is an important process that helps to make those decisions and recommendations and governments to take accountability of the areas that they can look into. So we are working with, say, for example, Commonwealth Youth Council is closely working with Disabilities Network to ensure that disability rights are also reflected and inclusive spaces are created in sports. With CYSDP, I previously chaired the safeguarding working group of CYSDP, so I know CYSDP has an active role to play. So Commonwealth Youth Council, as a collective youth voice, works in collaboration with different other youth networks. As Lin has mentioned that there are 13 youth networks. So So Commonwealth Youth Council, being the umbrella organization, collaborates with these other thematic youth networks on specific areas. And more often we would maybe thinking that, okay, this is just a sports issue, but safe sport issue is not just a sport issue. It can, even climate change can impact to safe sport environment, like because of the internal migration happening and that creating those kind of things. So I think it's very important to have those collective actions and collective voices. And Commonwealth Youth Council is actually taking some dedicated plan of actions. We have Commonwealth Youth Academy, through which we are doing webinars and these kind of discussions. And over 5,000 young people from all around the world have signed up for those courses and have been taking those courses. So we have been creating some of those youth-led actions, and also we are looking forward to make inclusive spaces and, of course, safe spaces for young people through the Commonwealth of Youth framework.
Excellent. So young people's voices coming through very strongly. Liz, if I could, before I come on to our South Pacific friends, if I could just come back to you, because I think there's something here about one of the issues, I think, is that young people, children particularly, keep quiet. They don't always talk about what might be happening to them. I just wonder if you've got some observations there on that issue and the importance of us listening to what children perhaps are trying to say to us.
Yeah, thanks, Helen. Just to reflect on that, and also Fahmida's comments. So children have a right to be engaged in decisions that affect them, and that includes organisations developing their safeguarding processes. So we've written into all of the international safeguards that actually a mark of quality of your policy, of your code of conduct, of your process for managing concerns is that you've involved children meaningfully in the development of them, because they're never going to work for children if children aren't part of creating them. They'll just work for adults, or they'll work for an adult perception of what children want. So involving children is their right, and it also makes things better. It's a win-win. It works on both those fronts. But Fahmida's made some really important points about engaging more generally with everybody that we're seeking to bring on this safe sport journey. So engaging with disabled athletes, engaging with people who've got lived experience of abuse themselves. Every person we engage helps make it better, because they bring their unique insight, their unique experiences, and they help make it better. Now, going back to your point, Helen, about children disclosing their abuse, it's going to be very hard for children. And I think we can do everything we can to make our processes as child-friendly as possible, but we still shouldn't put the burden on a child to disclose what's happening to them. It's all our responsibility to spot the signs, to know when something is wrong with a child, be it that they are becoming more emotional than normal, or perhaps they appear fearful of a particular person, a particular individual, that they become more withdrawn. It's up to us to educate ourselves on those signs so that we can be proactive and we can take steps on behalf of a child that's being abused. It's great if we can make our systems more accessible to children, but we also need to take on that responsibility ourselves.
Thank you for that, Liz. And in fact, as part of the campaign that It's a Penalty is currently running, there is a sort of a knowledge hub, a website, and we'll give more information towards the end. But that also, that's the Spot the Signs, is part of the awareness that we're doing for the public, the people. Okay, so they've been waiting for quite a while now, but I'm really delighted. From the other side of the world, beaming into us, are Ali and Maria. So you're very welcome. Ali Osborne. So you're working with the Oceania Football Confederation, and obviously all the eyes, hopefully all the eyes of the world are on your part of the world at the moment, and the FIFA Women's World Cup tournament, which I think is fantastic. But can you give us a bit of information about what the Oceania Football Confederation, what is it doing in this area? How's it working to prevent abuse in sport and prioritise the safeguarding across the Pacific region? So over to you to give us a snapshot of what's going on in your part of the world.
Thank you, Helen. And I've just found myself sitting here smiling and nodding along as the other panelists have been sharing so far. It's wonderful to be included in this discussion. And I think where I'll begin is just to echo what Liz mentioned around emphasis on it being a journey. And I'm really happy to get to share a few examples of some activity that we've had underway in the last year plus, but to really say, wherever you are in the journey, there's no place like the present to start, no time like the present to start. And I think while each of the individual initiatives or activities may feel quite humble or just scratching the surface, together, when I've been reflecting on the overall effort and progress, it is no small thing. And so I just feel very encouraged by being in the presence of these various panelists who have been so dedicated over a much longer period of time to this space, but also feeling quite grateful for the progress made in our region. It's absolutely true, the eyes of the world are currently very much on this region, but I think what's exciting is that we've been hard at work putting policy and various initiatives and education and awareness in place that can remain long after the tournament leaves our shores and our corner of the world. So that feels really exciting. I can definitely share in our region, we know that 2 out of every 3 Pacific women and girls experience and are impacted by gender-based violence, which is about twice the global average. So the statistics are quite humbling in that sense, in terms of not only providing safe spaces in sport for all, but really a lot of our work in the last year and a half plus has been focused very much on creating safe spaces, especially for young girls and women. There's much to be done. But I think in terms of our journey, just over a year ago, we enlisted the support of Safeguarding Children, which is a consultancy based in our region, who have been hugely instrumental in helping us to develop a really practical work plan that doesn't feel overwhelming or intimidating to our departments. Over a year ago now, we established a regional safeguarding working group. So we identified a safeguarding lead in at least 10 out of our 11 member association countries who attend a monthly call. And it's become a really wonderful community of practice, a place to share challenges and highlight areas of progress across our region. That working group has been busy developing and tailoring to their local context, their child protection policy. And now we're getting started on more with the code of conduct, which Maria will be able to speak to very shortly. Those safeguarding leads are really that focal point and point person at the member association level, who can be the eyes and ears on the ground and also really driving the work across the region, just in the way we are at the Confederation level. They complete an international safeguarding self-audit each year, which is just a really helpful pulse check and to just celebrate and mark the progress made and the lengths still yet to go. But internally at OFC, we sat down with Safeguarding Children and each head of department at our Confederation and really spent some time exploring with them where they could start to embed safeguarding into their work streams. One thing that we were really eager to do was not to put the responsibility or burden on any one particular individual or department. I think that's been mentioned here already on the call, is safeguarding is everyone's responsibility. And so to that end, we've really taken a all department, all hands on deck approach. And I think the ones I'll highlight just in really practical terms that we've taken and started actioning. We've incorporated a safeguarding workshop into our OFC Elite Referee course earlier this year. One highlight to having the FIFA Women's World Cup in this region has been tapping into the expertise available to us and having, the FIFA Women's World Cup safeguarding manager based down this way. And so she came and presented to 44 referees from across the region on that course. In addition, we've worked with our high performance and education department to start developing alongside Safeguarding Children content for an online module that coaches can take as a prerequisite to coming on one of our OFC coaching courses. But perhaps the one that feels most tangible and exciting in terms of outcomes so far is the collaboration with our competitions department to emulate the clause that FIFA have put into their competitions and just take that clause for every team traveling to our competitions to have a designated team safeguarding welfare officer traveling with the team. And that's someone who may already be part of that delegation. It could be the team manager or someone who is traveling on the planes, in the hotels, and to practice with the team, or it may be another designated individual. But that person now attends the pre-tournament workshop and gets that safeguarding briefing. We deliver an orientation to players and match officials during the team arrival meeting in country, and they also complete the FIFA Guardians Safeguarding Essentials course. So that's been a really exciting development that began with our under-19 women's competitions earlier this year in Fiji, and we're looking forward to seeing that grow at our upcoming under-16 women's tournament in Tahiti as well. But then I guess also at the OFC level, we're looking at our communications, and one opportunity that was identified quite early on before the Women's World Cup tournament was the opportunity to partner with It's a Penalty to help bring and expand and amplify the messaging of that campaign across the Pacific. And that's been a great initiative, as well as starting to develop signage in things like our changing rooms and in the stadiums around competitions. So it's a work in progress, but it's been really exciting to see the ways that different departments can pick up different pieces of the puzzle, and it is therefore not one person or department's responsibility. I guess the thing I'd like to share as well is that while we're doing some of this foundational work at the Confederation level, it's been really wonderful to see the ways that different member associations are also amplifying and expanding on these efforts as well. So we have member associations delivering safeguarding orientations to staff, developing partnerships with their local support centers. So whether that's the Women and Children's Crisis Centers or quite a bit of work that we do with UN Women in the Pacific. Those are just really wonderful opportunities to tap into the networks and resources that we have out across our member association countries. And we're starting to see some further representation. So similarly, we have another Pacific participant who completed the FIFA Guardians module, and she's now representing in a team safeguarding program at the Women's World Cup based here in Sydney for the whole month of the tournament. So there's been quite a lot of emphasis on capacity building, growing the awareness and education across the game. So coaches, referees, players, match officials. But I think, yeah, there's still quite a bit left to be done in terms of strengthening the reporting mechanisms and the awareness of where you can turn for support when you do make a report. But I'd like to pass the mic over to Maria here. Maria, working at Solomon Islands Football Federation at the MA level, you've recently had some pretty big wins in your local safeguarding space and some breakthroughs, particularly around your work related to preparations for the under-14 national tournament coming up. And so I'd love for you to just share some of the breakthroughs that you've had recently and some of the initiatives you have underway to ensure that football is safe in country.
Yeah, thank you, Alison. Hi, everyone. Yeah, for Solomon Island Football Federation, we have the UMI Play Under 14 National Championship that's coming up. This will commence Monday next week. It'll be for 6 days, from the 13th to the 18th. It's during our the under 14 management meeting, we strongly thought this is the time that we must now enforce safeguarding. And it's now we've started this, we had to come up with a clause to embed in a current regulation for the other 14, which we have done so. And now we have also the code of conduct that everybody has been mandated to sign. So following that, I have done the safeguarding orientation with the 14 local organizing committee members, and they have all signed the code of conduct. So we had the first 14 signatures for the code of conduct for the under 14 championship. So replicating the under 19 tournament that happened recently in Suva, Fiji, we have also endorsed that we'll have 2 safeguarding officers that will be meeting and greeting the 9 provincial football teams that will be coming to Honiara for the tournament. So they will be doing checks. They will also be doing safeguarding orientation with the officials, with the children, and we hope and we know, as mandated, get everybody to sign the code of conduct. I must say that with the championship that we are having, it's a penalty for the first time. Is also the campaign that we'll be using during this 6 days of competitions. So we hope to collect around almost 100 signatures. These are people who are part and parcel, who will be volunteering or will be working during the competition. It's a first for Solomon Islands, and I'd like to thank the Solomon Island Football Federation. You know, we have started the ball rolling for our MA. It's a milestone, I would say, for the federation. So what we want to do is creating a lasting and impactful legacy where that can be achieved through the support of everyone involved. And it's our duty of care, obviously, and everyone's responsibility to keep children safe and provide a safe environment during the competition for children to play or live in. And children need to be safe both in and out the field of play, I must say. And we have endorsed that the venue for the under 14 championship will also be smoke-free, as is also part of our safeguarding measures. Thank you. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Maria. I mean, that's tremendous work that you're managing to do in your home federation there, Solomon Islands, and Ali. Great work across the region in the Football Confederation there. I think that's splendid. It's really good to hear at this moment when we've got the as I say, the eyes of the world in the South Pacific. Here's some of the work that's going on. That's tremendous. I think what's interesting about this is how sport, the role that sport has in national development, and how it can be used to tackle social issues. I think that's coming out from some of the gender equality work that you're doing, Ali. I just go back to Lin first of all. Lin, is there anything you wanted to say a bit about that use of sport, and particularly safe sport, in contributing to national development and the global goals, the 2030 global agenda? Are there some areas of work particularly you think that sport can be impactful on?
Certainly. Thanks, Helen. Yeah, that's a really, really useful question. Sport, there's no denying, just from the panel we are today, the convening power of sport, right? And how it cuts across so many sectors and so many areas of work and life. And when it comes to the global goals, sport can contribute to a lot of wider non-sporting outcomes. So when you look at the SDGs, for example, you look at SDG 3, which looks at promoting health and well-being, through to 4 on quality education, 5 on equality. Sport has a role to play on all this governance more particularly. And I think in framing today's conversation, sport is undeniably important. Where we need to bolster up our efforts, and these are conversations that have been happening, is around data and around tracking the progress that sport is making. So if in talking about safe sport, where there's efforts being made, like what Ali and Maria have spoken to, or to the work that the International Safeguards is doing, it's a penalty, tracking the awareness raising, tracking the improvement, no matter how small or how disaggregated it might be. Then we'll be able to track that and measure that and invest even better into the sports sector, and particularly to the grassroots sports, which is where it really begins. That's the heart of what sport and sport for development and peace is. And within the Commonwealth Secretariat, some of these efforts have around measuring the contribution of sports to the SDGs, particularly around sport, physical education, physical activity, have been progressed around what we call a global sport and SDG impact report. It will be coming out later on this year. We did have a policy brief that's already in circulation, but that did mention, just how important it is that as we are looking towards 2030 and beyond 2030 now as well, 2032, there's a lot of major sports events that are happening where we have the opportunity to really press in on the message of the importance of sport, but also how we protect sport also and protect children and young people participating in sport through the measurement of progress and amplifying these really brilliant stories. So that's where I would say there's resources available, happy to share them and just continue to share this wider global community of practice.
Wow. Thank you, Lynn. Yes, we'll follow up with you, and we can post up on websites and that for people more information from the Commonwealth Secretariat. Ali, I just wondered if there's anything else on about your gender strategy that you've got within your football confederation, because I know you've done a lot of work building that strategy and now implementing it, and of course the Women's World Cup is the moment. In terms of women's sports, and if anything else that you think you can add to thinking about national development and gender?
Yeah, I mean, OFC launched our women's football all-in strategy in 2021, which was a nice runway into 2023. Last year, our members of our department completed extensive research on the barriers to participation, particularly for girls and women in football and sport more broadly in our region, which then informed recommendations that comprise our gender equality playbook. And we've really been spending the last 6 to 8 months starting to launch and activate that playbook. It's something that you can find on the OFC website, and we have it in hard copy as well. And it's really intended for any sports organization to pick up, and there's a scorecard involved. You can look at the different play recommendations based on specific context of research, but from within that, one of the steps we've taken is a play around girls' participation. We're focused on adolescent girls' participation, offering fun, inclusive, and safe spaces for 13 to 18-year-old girls in our region to be introduced to sport, to football for the very first time. It's called This Is How We Football, and it comes out of that play or recommendation to have female coaches and to offer spaces that are specifically for girls, where they can come and get together in a way that feels approachable and safe for them. So I think, out of the research and with the development of this playbook, it's things like I mentioned earlier, building partnership with those local women and children's centers in a local context. It's allocating those resources and equipment and appropriate facilities for programs designed specifically for girls and women. So that's some of the initial steps we're taking. But we love collaborating among other organizations and inside and outside football that are doing similar work.
And that playbook is excellent. I've had a really good look at it. It's a very good resource. So people ought to go find their way to your website, I think, and have a look at that as well. And this conversation, this takes us back to Fahmida, I think, because Fahmida's obviously got experiences from being in South Asia. Now she's based in Morocco. Fahmida, any comments that you want to make about gender equality and safety for girls in sport based on your experience?
I would just share two things. Last week, I was following the news. There is a district level under 17 player in Bangladesh who faced harassments while going for play just because she was playing with half pants or shorts, the football jersey, like the typical football jersey. But the societies have posed so much of barriers to her and her family. She took the matter to court and issued a case, but her family and herself got threatened to be thrown acid on her face if she keeps playing football. So I'm talking about, it's great we are creating framework, changing the policies, protecting the national teams or those girls who make it to the academies. But what about those girls who are not making it? What about those girls who are playing at the grassroots? What about those who have a dream and might have a huge potential to make it, but we are not able to safeguard them? So first of all, it's great that we are making progress, and of course, one step at a time. And I remember, and when Maria was talking about the code of conduct and everything, I remember the time when I literally had to chase people to make the signing. Even after having the training and everything, they would just not sign. So it's a great progress that you are at least having them to sign and understand and have those trainings and those awareness. But also what comes with it is that we have to really go on the bigger side of it. Now that we started it, and we have done a great job in starting the baseline, we have to go one step forward. And the second thing that I wanted to say about gender, I think this panel is all women, right? So that speaks volume of the fact that how much commitment is needed and how many women are actually stepping forward. Now, when I started Alliance for Safe Space, one of the biggest reasons, we have an annual series of discussion called the Safeguarding Hour. It's in 3 different languages. And one of the big things that we found out while doing it is because when we are, as a practitioner, practicing safeguarding, we are the whistleblowers. And nobody likes to be called out. Nobody likes the whistleblowers. Now, who is actually guarding the guardians? Who is protecting the safe guardians? A lot of the people we have seen, because of the whistleblowing, lost their jobs or have got detrimental situations with their mental health. But who is providing them that support? So I think it's great that we are talking about protecting athletes, minors, but when we talk about everyone, that also comes the practitioners. So through the Safeguarding Hour, when we reflect on the practitioner's voice on safe sport, we actually are trying to build a resource that could be helpful for the practitioners to know that they are not alone. And I just want to summarize as my last word, saying that everyone from any corner of the world, because we have the representation from Asia, Africa, Pacific, Europe, everywhere. I want all the practitioners to know that you are not alone. Safeguarding is a marathon. This is a long journey. This is a lifetime commitment, but you are not alone. And there is a beautiful community of safeguarding practitioners who are always there to help you. So thank you, Helen, once again for bringing together everyone and all the great work It's a Penalty is doing. But when it's about gender and safeguarding, I think it's needless to say any further. It just reflects of all the words that we have been discussing about. Thanks.
Well, thank you so much, Fahmida. Unfortunately, time is against us. We've now up to our hour. So I think with those challenging thoughts there at the end, I think this is at the time that now we now have to finish. just to say that if you're wanting to get more information and get involved, there's information on the It's a Penalty website. We'll be posting up information on social media as well. So I just wanted to thank you so much, the panelists, for today. It's been a fantastic conversation. I hope you, our audience, have also got something out of this, have heard different perspectives from around the Commonwealth, and only really leaves me to say, have a very safe sports day, and do please look into what safe sports day mean and what those safeguarding international safeguards are as well. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.